was a kid, I loved to write. I was always making up little stories and, taking a piece of paper and folding it like a book and, writing stuff in it. So I always knew that I wanted to do something with writing. And back then, the main opportunity was to do something in news. I mean, I grew up small little town in eastern Washington on a fruit ranch, so things like public relations and all that, we didn't even know about that, but we watched the news on TV every night. And so that's when I decided that I wanted to go off in the area of journalism. I was actually in the news, not in the production end of it, so I wrote copy. And the interesting thing about TV is it's a different kind of writing because you're writing for the ear instead of the eye. And I think a lot of people that go into public relations in school, you're not taught to write that way. Everything is like AP style or this, or it's very formal. And my training is like, we used to break down difficult to understand subjects by saying, how would you explain it to your neighbor? And so I got a lot of experience writing, how people would just say it rather than how you might formally diagram a sentence if you were an English teacher. So that was very helpful coming into this because, especially with Monitor, I think I was able to write stories that were engaging rather than just, a litany of facts about a particular service. And then just the basic time management things that you learn when you have the constant deadlines and television have really helped in this position. Trial and error. I mean, the feedback that you get every time you write something, we go through a process where we work with a proofreader, and it's always a moral victory for me if my stuff comes back with fewer red corrections on it. It's just like school. But everybody that you work with, I think, has some help with it. In television, it was the anchors that I wrote for. I mean, I learned a lot about style writing, how they preferred to say things, and then you kind of adopt that style. I mean, if I'm writing something, as I have just finished on this project, there's stuff that I've written for the CEO. There's stuff that I've written that's a press release. They're all written slightly differently. We're working with the same facts, but just because of who it's coming from and the audience it's going to, you are able to adjust that. And a lot of that goes back again to TV, where depending on who the anchor was, what time the show aired, who the audience was, you just learn to adapt and target those people. I think social media is great because I use myself as a good example of this, I guess, is, you're busy. Do you really have time to sit down and read the newspaper, cover to cover to find stuff? I don't know many people who do, but social media, if you are, following things you have an interest in, say you have an interest in health, so you're probably following health reporters or, health columns, or say the USA Today's health coverage or whatever, and then they just target stuff. So you're getting just in 140 characters, and you decide whether that's something of interest, so maybe it's, some male hair loss thing. Well, I'm not interested in that, so I don't even have to bother with it. But then if it's something that you see, you can dig a little bit deeper in it. For us, the challenge is identifying those things that will promote well via, especially Twitter, because of the 140 character limit. And then you really have to write that 140 characters to pique somebody's interest. It's again an entirely different kind of writing, but you've got a very limited amount to grab them. Where on Facebook, you could rattle on and on for all the room that you've got. So it's really forced us to again look at another way of reaching folks.